When will you come to that decision, and what are you looking for in practice to help you make up your mind?
You know, a lot of times when you look at this, it's not as simple as it may appear. Obviously, he's playing well. So the logical conclusion is we'll just put him in the starting lineup. It may be the right thing for his team, may not be, because he's playing the best basketball of the last 2 years coming off the bench. But it may come to that anyway. But what we'll do is we'll evaluate over the next couple of days. We may look at different lineups, and because just because you make a lineup change doesn't mean that would be the only one. It might be different, may not be. So we'll see.
In the case of when you look at Melson and Adam, like you say, Melson is giving you great energy off the bench. And are you worried about losing that energy and then maybe crushing Woodbury's confidence if you don't start him? Is those other factors?
Well, the thing about Woodbury is, and I go back to his last game, I was really impressed with him, because what I tried to get him to do was understand how he can impact the game in different ways. It's not only as a scorer, but his energy level was great. If anything, I had the opportunity to play him some more minutes, but I went with Zach, late in the overtime, and Gabe was playing well. That's just the kind of team we have.
How important is it to the guys to start? Is it a big deal to them?
It doesn't seem to be.
Is that unique to this team, or is that your experience throughout?
Well, I think, Pat, everybody wants to start. I think there's something about starting, saying you're a starter, being in the starting lineup. Every competitor wants to be a starter. If you're honest with yourself, you know what your skill set is, and you're going to play, you're going to be a factor in the game. Take a guy like Eric May, he really doesn't care. He just doesn't care. As a matter of fact, he seems to be more comfortable coming off the bench. And I'm been very pleased with his play this year. So it's interesting. Certain guys feel like they need to be in the starting lineup, and other guys don't. But when it's all said and done, they all want to be.
How big is, in your eyes, is the way Melson's playing compared to last year when you had a tough year all the way through? He stuck with it, and now he's giving you minutes, very good minutes.
Well, I think with him, it's all energy level. He is running, he's jumping, he's impacting the game with his athletic power. And that's what we need him to do. And plus, he can score. But this is year 3 for him in terms of figuring everything out. We hit him with a lot of stuff. We played him in 4 and 5, both his freshman and sophomore year, and now he's locked into how we do our scouting and what we're trying to do on offense and what we're trying to do on defense. He's also, I think, at the right weight for him. He's about 228 right now. And, he was at 212. He was at 217. He was at 225. He was at 240. He was probably about 235. Too big, and he seems to be very confident right there at 228. Still quick enough, but then powerful enough.
Where's Josh's confidence right now?
I don't know. He makes every shot in practice. Every one. Makes them all. And a little bit different when they're guarding you, the way teams have guarded him. Makes it a little bit harder. And the thing about him is, I put him in. He's not a mistake guy. He doesn't turn it over. Defensively, he's solid. He feeds the post. He had a great feed the other day to Melson for a dunk. But I just keep saying, I think it's a matter of time before he has more games like he had against Northwestern.
Well, he's always been kind of a good teammate kind of guy. He's passed up open shots at times to make a pass, and sometimes you'd like him to take those shots. Do you ever feel like if he keeps missing those shots that he just gets down on himself, and that's why he just keeps going down?
He's funny. He doesn't seem to get down on himself. He's not going to be the guy that just jacks. He's just not. I've been with him long enough now. When he dumped that ball down to Melson, it was wide open. He was open. He could have shot. Most 3-point shooters would have shot the 3, looked Melson off. And as soon as he raised up, he just, he hit him, and that's a basketball play. He's a basketball player who happens to be a good shooter. So, you know, a lot of times, like for him to make 4 or 5 threes, but he doesn't take a ton of shots. It's just not, it's not in his nature to be a big. And, you know, you try to encourage him to play with a little more reckless abandon that way. Just fire. You're out there to fire and fire. But the reality is he doesn't view himself that way. You know, and there's a fine line there, because when it's all said and done, I want him to be a basketball player. He's really good feeding the post. He can pass it extremely well against the zone. He's probably hurts the other team more with his passing than he does his shooting. He's phenomenal. So we'll just stick with him.
Just how hard is it to win when you're shooting under 30% from three in the Big Ten? No, you can do a lot of other things right and not.
Well, I mean, it's frustrating because the guys have really battled for us. I mean, they have battled for me, and we're in a position to win all these games that, you know, obviously, I mean, if we won some of those, we'd probably be ranked. And that's what I want for you. I want, you know, when they're competing that hard for me, and they're preparing the way they're preparing, and it's just a couple missed shots. I mean, if there's a bigger gap, that's one thing. But, you know, we've closed the gap. There's no question about that. And now you want to see them, you know, enjoy the fruits of all of that hard work. And, you know, I mean, Marble was a guy that would make game winners for us last year, and I'm going to him, and they're rimming out. They're good shots and I would go right back to them. You know, and that's what I tell them. So I mean, you know, eventually I think they'll win.
Are you surprised by the kind of the struggles from three overall from the team?
Yeah, because again, you know, we've had a number of different guys make them in games. We've had a number of different guys consistently make them in practice. So, you know, the fact that all of them are struggling at the same time is kind of odd. A lot of times, you know, you figure, you know, one guy, you know, has a 1 for 5. You know, the other guy's got a 3 for 5. The other guy's got a 2 for 5. Now you're okay.
Is there a contagious aspect to that sometimes?
There can be. I see that more with free throw shooting than with 3-point shooting.
Talk about, you know, Mike kind of played with the Steely Reserve the other day at Purdue, kind of put the team on his back in some senses. Is that hard-nosed? Nothing seems to really faze him on the floor. Is that what you liked about him? One of the things you liked about him?
It's always been that way, you know. And you know, it's interesting when he was our starting point guard. You know, one of the reasons why I moved him was to get him to be more aggressive offensively, because he's always been an aggressive offensive player, but he was trying so hard to run our offense. So to see him, you know, be our point guard and play that way offensively. Now we also, you know, we had him in there with Deb. Deb was at times the point guard. He was the 2 anyway, and it's nice to have that flexibility, quite frankly. But he just doesn't rattle. He doesn't rattle on the road. He doesn't rattle if you're mugging him off the ball. He'll just keep working. You know, so I really, quite honestly, Rick wasn't very surprised by that.
Do you like his approach? I mean, the fact that he makes a mistake, you would never know by his facial reactions. He just plays through the play and gets to the next one.
And again, he's always been that way. I mean, I've seen him more than anybody. For his high school team, for his AAU team, he's always been that way. You know, he just on to the next play, and that's that. And he's going to try to beat you. And if you beat him, all right, then we'll try to beat you the next time. That's all. There's really no other way to do it. Others, you know, can let it linger a little more than it should.